Anthropogenic? What is anthropogenic?
People understand climate in many familiar ways. For example, we know that winter will generally be cooler than summer. We also know the climate in desert will be much different than the climate in Greenland. Climate is measured by statistics such as average temperature, rainfall, and frequency of droughts. Climate change refers to changes in these statistics over season and year-to-year changes, as well as decades, over continuous and even over centuries, and over thousands of years, as with how Earth moves in and out of ice ages and warm beds. This video is intended to help people understand what has been learned about climate change. Enormous inroads have been made in increasing our understanding of climate change and its causes, and a clear picture of current compacts is emerging. Research and also shedding light on actions that might be taken to limit the magnitude of climate change or adapt to its impacts. We lay out evidences that human activities, especially the burning of fuels, are responsible for much of the warming and related changes being observed on Earth.
Excuse me, miss. Do you think human activities can destroy our Mother Earth?
Oo.
What are these kind of human activities?
I think fossil fuels.
Energy gained from burning fossil fuels is converted to electricity and heat in commercial power plants. When fossil fuels are burned, carbon and hydrogen react with oxygen in air to carbon dioxide and water. During this reaction, heat is released, which further amplifies the reaction. Electricity is generated by transforming mechanical energy to electrical energy in a turbine or generator. Power plants are very expensive to build, but once they are present, efficiency in converting fuel to energy is very high. Most of the time, more electricity is created than is actually needed, because electricity cannot be stored. Electricity demands vary throughout the year and provision must meet the peak load, which means the highest possible demand within a year. If demand significantly exceeds a power plant's capacity to generate energy, this may cause temporary blackouts. Historically, fossil fuels were available in plentiful supply that was easy to obtain and transport. But now, signals are given that the supply is running out and that it will take centuries to be replenished. Both sources and sinks of fuels are limiting in their use. Sources are deep earth layers, and sinks are, for example, air and water, which absorb fossil fuel waste products. Burning fossil fuels is responsible for environmental issues that are high on the political agenda these days. Examples are greenhouse gas accumulation, acidification, air pollution, water pollution, damage to land surface, and ground level ozone. These environmental problems are caused by release of pollutants that are naturally present in fossil fuel structures, such as sulfur and nitrogen. Currently, oil burning is responsible for about 30% of all carbon dioxide emissions to air. Natural gas does not release as much carbon dioxide because of its methane structure. The largest emissions are caused by coal combustion. Coal may result in underground fires that are virtually impossible to extinguish. Coal dust can even explode. This makes coal mining a very dangerous profession. Oil may end up in soil or water in raw form. For example, during oil spills or wars. This has caused many natural disasters in the past. Why then are we still using fossil fuels to such a large extent? The answer is simple. Because this is cheaper than any type of reasonable alternative we now know. Some environmental scientists predict that fossil fuel prices will increase in the coming century because of scarcity. This may cause an eventual transfer to renewable energy sources. According to Bjorn Lomborg, this will eventually happen. The IPCC is not sure whether a fossil fuel future can be entirely ruled out.
Do you think human activities can destroy our Mother Earth?
Yes.
What are these kind of activities?
Illegal logging.
Illegal logging is the harvest, transportation, purchase or sale of timber in violation of laws. The harvesting procedure itself may be illegal, including using corrupt means to gain access to forest, extraction without permission or from some protected area, the cutting down of protected species, or the extraction of timber in excess of agreed limits. Illegality may also occur during transport, such as illegal processing and export, fraudulent declaration to customs, the avoidance of taxes and other charges, and fraudulent certification.
Kuya, Ate, do you think human activities can destroy our Mother Earth?
Yes, that's of course.
What are these kind of human activities?
I think mining.
Mining is the extraction of valuable minerals or other geological materials from the earth, usually from an ore body, lode, vein, seam, reef, or placer deposit. These deposits form a mineralized package that is of economic interest to the miner. Ores recovered by mining include metals, coal, oil shale, rock salt, potash, gravel, and clay. Mining is required to obtain any material that cannot be grown through agricultural processes or created artificially in a laboratory or factory. Mining in a wider sense includes extraction of any non-renewable resource such as petroleum, natural gas, or even water.
Rainfall, river flow, and flooding to intensify, that are the problems that we are facing right now. Monsoon rainfall in the Philippines will come to new highs and lows. Some parts of the country will experience an upward trend in rainfall while some other parts of the countries will experience intensifying in drought. These two extreme poles of weather will make it more difficult to agricultural and aquaculture, as these both sectors will depend on highly dependent weather.
More intense El Nino. The El Niño phenomenon occurs when the surface of ocean waters in the southern Pacific becomes abnormally warm.
The creation of tropical cyclone has already been recorded in areas where the phenomenon had never been observed. On November 8, 2013, Super Typhoon Yolanda, said to be the strongest storm in recorded history, devastated cities in Visayas.
Current data show an increase in sea surface heights. Scientists say that this is due to the melting of ice sheets in the northern parts of the world, such as Antarctica and Greenland. Sea levels can rise from 4 to 6 meters, can submerge to provinces, low-lying communities like Tacloban City, which is 3 meters above sea level.
Consume less. The easiest way to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions is simply to buy less stuff. Whether by foregoing an automobile or employing a reusable grocery sack, cutting back on consumption results in fewer fossil fuels being burned to extract, produce, and ship products around the globe. Think green when making purchases. For instance, if you are in the market for a new car, buy one that will last the longest and have the least impact on the environment. Thus, a used vehicle with a hybrid engine offers superior fuel efficiency over the long haul while saving the environmental impact of a new car manufacturer. Paradoxically, when purchasing essentials such as groceries, buying in bulk can reduce the amount of packaging, plastic wrapping, cardboard boxes, and other unnecessary materials. Sometimes buying more means consuming less. Be efficient. A potentially simpler and even bigger impact can be made by doing more with less. Citizens of many developed countries are profligate wasters of energy, whether by speeding in a gas-guzzling sport utility vehicle or leaving the lights on when not in a room. Good driving and good car maintenance, such as making sure tires are properly inflated, can limit the amount of greenhouse gas emissions from a vehicle and, perhaps more importantly, lower the frequency of payment at the pump. Similarly, employing more efficient refrigerators, air conditioners, and other appliances, such as those rated highly under the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Energy Star program, can cut electric bills, while something as simple as weatherproofing the windows of a home can reduce heating and cooling bills. Such efforts can also be usefully employed at work, whether that means installing more efficient turbines at the power plant or turning the lights off when you leave the office. Unplug. Believe it or not, US citizens spend more money on electricity to power devices when off than when on. Televisions, stereo equipment, computers, battery chargers, and a host of other gadgets and appliances consume more energy when seemingly switched off, so unplug them instead. Purchasing energy-efficient gadgets can also save both energy and money, and thus prevent more greenhouse gas emissions. To take but one example, efficient battery chargers could save more than 1 billion kilowatt hours of electricity, $100 million at today's electricity prices, and thus prevent the release of more than 1 million metric tons of greenhouse gases. One child. There are at least 6.6 billion people living today, a number that is predicted by the United Nations to grow to at least 9 billion by mid-century. The UN Environmental Program estimates that it requires 54 acres to sustain an average human being today. Food, clothing, and other resources extracted from the planet. Continuing such population growth seems unsustainable. Falling birth rates in some developed and developing countries, a significant portion of which are due to government-imposed limits on the number of children a couple can have begun to reduce or reverse the population explosion. It remains unclear how many people the planet can comfortably sustain, but it is clear that per capita energy consumption must go down if climate change is to be controlled. Ultimately, a one-child per couple rule is not sustainable either, and there is no perfect number for a human population. But it is clear that more humans means more greenhouse gas emissions.
We advocate self-discipline for clean and green because we believe that self-discipline is a trait that most of us tend to forget. We wanted not just to influence but also to encourage the youth and our fellow Lyceans that if we want change, it should start within ourselves. When we know that we could help or contribute good things to save the environment, we should do and act.
I am Simon Guillotine.
Jamie Vanessa Piatabay. I'm Kim Esteban. I am Krisha Lasaga.
I'm Rexy Shane Montecalvo.
I am Gunette Luque. Eunice Lorraine Almedo.
And we advocate self-discipline for